Hey beautiful people, join me as I make this cake, decorate it. So these are ingredients for the cake and these are prepared pans. So into your mixing bowl you're going to be adding 250 grams of margarine, which is equivalent to 1 cup. Then you're going to add in 1.5 cup of sugar, which is equivalent to 300 grams of sugar. Then you want to give that a very good mix. This is called the creaming process. Now we'll be needing 4 eggs, but for now I'll be adding just 1 of the egg. This is to help my mixing. This is to make it much more faster. I actually needed to make this cake and decorate it and deliver. I had just very short time to do this. So here's me creaming the sugar and the margarine. Always remember to scrape the sides. This makes sure that every single bit of your sugar and your margarine is properly mixed. Don't be too much in a hurry to skip this process. It is very important. So here you continue mixing. The creaming method, it takes time. You can use between 12 to 15 minutes. And why it is important is that it helps in bringing air. Is it air or hair? Like air, oxygen, air. It helps to make the cake fluffy. Now into it I added just 2 teaspoons of vanilla flavor. That is what you saw me adding there. And then the scraping continues. As you do, you scrape. Now it is very ready. Now I'll be introducing my remaining 3 eggs. Remember there are 4 eggs. I've used 1, so just put them 1 at a time. Another option you have is that you can break all of them together, whisk it a little or whisk it and then you introduce it gradually. So this is the 3rd egg I'm adding. Please, it is safer to break your egg into a bowl before introducing it to your creamed sugar and butter, just like this. This is the safest method. I needed to draw your attention, especially if you're not sure how fresh your egg is. You can do the water test then before using it or breaking it directly. What I did is not just a very good practice. A shout out goes out to Emil Bono watching from Liberia. I'm so glad you find my videos valuable and useful. So if you want us to give you a shout out the next time, kindly let us know where you are watching from. Here I'll be sifting in my flour, and I have 3 cups of flour here. And then I'll be adding into this flour 3 teaspoons of baking powder. 3 teaspoons of baking powder. Remember, we are going to be dividing our flour into 3, and then this is salt. Half teaspoon of salt. So here, if you notice, I'm not using my hand mixer. I'm just using my spatula. You just fold, okay? You fold it in. The reason is that we don't want to overmix our batter. Instead of milk, I said I'll be using water. The water, I'm dividing it into 2. It's just a normal process. If you've been watching my videos, this is a beginner friendly process. And I sincerely want to tell you that if you are patient enough to follow this, most of the time nothing will go wrong with your cake. So this is the 2nd batch of flour I'm adding. Remember, I've already added my baking powder, and I've added my salt. So here I'm sifting in the second portion of my flour. Remember I said we'll be dividing the flour into 3 and our water into 2. Now, peradventure you don't want to use your water, you can use 1 cup of milk. Then you continue mixing. Then this is the last and second part of our water. Remember, you fold in. If you see it looking as if it's looking curdled, don't bother about it. As you put in the remaining batch of your flour, it's just going to be perfect. It's going to be smooth. Okay, it's already getting smooth. So this is the last batch of our flour, and I'll be sifting it in. You can sift your flour and keep by the side. That way you just divide. Either way, it's very, very okay. But you can still do the same method or the same process that I'm doing. So here you fold in the flour to the batter. You do it just gently, you're not fighting. If I'm to do it in real time, it is definitely going to take more time than this. Now just mix in a way that everything will be combined. So since I have my stand mixer, most of the time after applying the last batch of my flour, I usually mix for just like 10 seconds with my hand mixer. That way I'm sure everything is mixed, there are no lumps, and then that is good, just good to go. I apologize for the noise. So you see, this is our batter. It is so thick, it looks creamy. It looks so nice, right? Now remember our prepared pans. Why I use pans, why I measure it is so that each batter, the cake will come out equal, okay? If you put 300 grams in this pan, you put 300 grams in that pan, you're sure of getting equal size of cake, right? So that is why I do it, just to make sure they're equal. Sometimes I don't want some parts big, some parts small. Now this very recipe gave me, these are size 7 pans. They gave me 2 of size 7 pans, and as usual I sincerely like eating what I give out, and miraculously I don't get tired of eating, but I don't eat much. Most times I get to share with my children, I get to share with my friends too. Like I'll cut one and then I'll share, okay? So here everything is ready. You want to give that a tap. When you tap it, it releases those trapped hairs. To pronounce this, is it hair or hair? I used to miss it, but you understand what I mean. Now another thing is that for you to have cakes, very nice cakes, I usually like covering my cakes with foil paper. Bake for 45 minutes and check if a toothpick comes out clean. Now to the buttercream, I'll be saving 500 grams of icing sugar, also called confectionery sugar, and then sieve it thoroughly. Like, why you need to sieve it thoroughly, it makes it lighter, and most importantly, look at the lumps. It helps in ensuring that there are no lumps, because if there are lumps, your buttercream will not come out smooth, it will come out with lumps. I'm actually making white buttercream, and I decided to transfer it to another bowl so that I can use this particular mixing bowl for making the buttercream. So as I said, this is white buttercream, but I want a little tint of yellow. So here I'm adding 50 grams of margarine. Then I'll be going in with 150 grams of vegetable shortening. All you do is you give it a very good mix. It gives you a very, very beautiful outcome. Now these are I usually label my baking items. So here we're mixing together the butter, the margarine, and the vegetable shortening. Now scraping of sides applies to not only cake batter but also to buttercream too. Now it is very okay for you to make use of your manual mix or mixer, your spatula, your hand wicks. Alright, now here I added just 1 teaspoon of vanilla flavor, and then here I have my water here. Here I added 2 tablespoons of water. I think I didn't add that. I also added a tint or also a pinch of salt. Let's say half teaspoon of salt. You know, vegetable shortening is kind of blah. So I add just a little of the salt because my margarine already contains salt. Now I'm going to be gently folding in the confectionery sugar. You can, if you say you want to mix right away, it's going to like make the place so cloudy, like the dust from the icing sugar. So it is safer for you to use your spatula to mix. This way, do you know you can mix like this, and then in fact it reduces the air that will enter inside, making your buttercream much more smoother. If you use just your spatula at this very point to mix in your icing sugar to the margarine and vegetable shortening. But I still went ahead. As I said, I had very limited time. I needed all the machines I can get that will make this work easier and faster for me. So here I'm trying to ensure that everything is incorporated. Now this is me scraping the sides to make sure that everything is combined. Not only that, to also observe the consistency. Is this the consistency I need? Or would I still need to add a little water? So this is how it looked. So this is after adding a little more water. You can see it's more flexible, and this is just perfect. This is a perfect consistency. Now our cakes are ready. You check the doneness, see how it is. Remember, I used water to bake this. Now see how it is. Now to proceed to the decorating, I took a little bit of my glucose. This helps to hold the cake to the board. Yeah, you can see my cake sitting behind there. This was in the morning. I was already ready for work. By now the cake has cooled properly. It is advisable you allow your cake to cool, please. Allow your cake to cool. Don't ever decorate your cake while it is still warm. Okay, one, it's going to make your buttercream to melt. Secondly, it might spoil. The cake will get spoiled. Alright, so see my buttercream, by now it has rested enough, and I put them in my piping bag and then I piped it round. Okay, yeah. Now, if you have any filling you can use at this point: caramel filling, chocolate ganache filling, strawberry filling. You can use any of those, okay? But this was a budget cake, like so I needed to, yeah, be mindful of the items I'm using, all right? Yeah, so you can see how it is. Even though it is a very small cake, I still had to do it. Sometimes you just can't be too sure, especially if your cake is going far. Now, this cake was traveling from Abuja to Kwara State. This was in another state. So I had to be very careful. Now, this time around, I'm applying the buttercream around the cake. Like, I always recommend this method, especially for beginners. I think I've grown to love this method of applying. First of all, most times I don't bother myself with crumb coating. I just go in right into it. But even in applying it, it needs to be careful and smart about it, all right? So this time around, working on smoothing the top, then I will now go to the sides. Yeah, smoothing. Then I used this very particular scraper. It makes my work so smooth. Like, honestly, I enjoy using it, especially for small cakes. You can see how smooth my cake, the buttercream is. It doesn't have that yellow tint, and it just gives it as if it's an off-white color. It's so nice. I actually love it. Now it's time to scrape the top. You see how I'm doing? You just scrape it, you put, and then you don't like cover it completely. You don't cover the palette knife on the cake. You just by the side, then that part just goes. I don't know how to explain it very well other than the practical. So here I'm doing the cake design on top. Now on the down part, you notice I didn't use any cake comb on it. The body, rather the body of it, I'll be doing a different design. So that is why I'm not using cake comb. It's more, well, you just see it's a very simple design. I didn't want something elaborate that might like be difficult for transporting. All right, so here I'm just trying to create this should I say harsh effect on the cake, like rough effect on the cake. And that part that you see just came up. I just used buttercream since the body, the texture is already like rough texture, just to add and then go. And I was like, I wanted something smooth now. I started to use this foil paper, but I actually didn't like how it came, as if it was going deeper. I don't actually like covering my cakes with too much of buttercream. At least let the cake be bigger and the buttercream just moderate, just enough to decently cover the cake without exposing any part. So after applying the gold leaves, I went ahead to throw in some white dredges around the cake and also at the top of the cake. This is just to add in some more glamour. Out of the 500 grams of buttercream I made, that was the remaining buttercream. Now I also added some gold dredges around it. This helped to bring out the beauty more, like enhance the beauty of this cake. You can see it's so easy to transport. Now this was my graduation topper. I just added it. Now if you've watched to this very point, I really want to say thank you. You are amazing. Thank you so much for watching. And if you have not yet subscribed, what are you waiting for? You can subscribe to Joyous Cakes and More, where we are learning step by step, taking it one step at a time, and one day by day. Thank you so much to my returning subscribers. You are amazing. I sincerely appreciate you. And if this is the first time you are watching my video, kindly do subscribe. Thank you once again and do have a blessed day. Bye.